He wanted to take a rest. He didn't want to ski anymore. That ski hill closes at 4. I'm told this was around 2:30. And Danny stated he just wanted to finish one more run. They were coming home that night.
I posted this on my Facebook page the other day, and I'll drop a link at the bottom of the screen. This is the reason why I do weird shows or talk about weird things on my radio show for years and things like that. The weird and unusual, because and I haven't done them in a while, but I need to start doing them. But anyway, the reason is because as time goes on and we reach the closer to the end time, I think we're going to see a lot more of this. We're going to see a lot more things that can be explained. There will be an explanation for it, and there may be for this one. But there are going to be a lot of things that are not explained. I know last night I was in a discussion about the Vegas shooting. And two things that come to mind I thought was really odd about it is the fact that the media dropped it and they haven't spoken about it. And the video, surveillance video, hasn't, they haven't released any surveillance video. Now we are in February, middle of February, and nobody's talking about it. So I think that's a little odd. Plus the fact that, you know, his... we were talking about the autopsy because according to the autopsy, time of death was the next day at noon, when according to the police he died the same night and he shot himself. They even released photos of him dead in the hotel room, but the autopsy said the time of death was noon, October 2nd. And somebody mentioned the fact that they may have made a mistake on the date, which is understandable, but they... You know, it's an autopsy report. It's important. It's official. But to have the wrong date is one thing, but to say it was at noon and not the night of is kind of odd. But anyway, this but that's one of the things that we're going to start seeing closer and closer as stranger things and more evil things start to arise. So this news story came out, and thought it was interesting. It says this is NBC5 here in Dallas. It says Wilmington, New York, a skier from Whiteface Mountain has been found in California. New York State Police said Constantinos, Danny Philippidis, 49 of Toronto, was found 2,900 miles away Tuesday in Sacramento, California. Now, there's some strange things about this. He was a skier that went missing in New York. He was reported missing last Wednesday by friends who said he could not be found as the resort was closing. His belongings were found at the lodge, and his car was still in the parking lot, not in Sacramento. Since then, hundreds of volunteers have spent about 7,000 hours combing the mountain, crews and canines and helicopters as part of the search. The steep and icy terrain make the search even more challenging. To get off that mountain was a little difficult. To be in the snow, and it's kind of a hassle. So he would have to run away with somebody. He couldn't just take off himself. Maybe. He made contact with law enforcement officers in Sacramento. He was reported to be in good health. Circumstances of Philippidis' disappearance remain under investigation. Officials have not said why he went missing, but Tuesday police said he had no reason to believe that he was not on the mountain. Had no reason to believe he was not on the mountain in New York. Now here's the odd part. Department of Homeland Security, New York State Police, New York Department of Conservation, U.S. Customs, Border Protection, and officials in Toronto assisted with the search. Why they needed so many people for one person, I find that really, really odd. Now, if you have a person that's missing within 24 hours or a week, why do you call Homeland Security? What's Homeland Security have anything to do with this? That's one thing I find out about it. Plus, you know, Customs and Border Patrol. He was from Toronto, but you know that's understandable. But Homeland Security, they went through an awful lot of people to find this one guy. So he is married, father of two, and 28-year-old veteran Toronto firefighter. Maybe that's why. That's why, I guess, because he's a firefighter. I don't know. He had been skiing with a group of firefighters and retired firefighters. Toronto Professional Firefighters Local 3888 President Frank Ramagano answered reporters' questions Tuesday evening. He was found, this is what's really interesting here, he was found confused and unable to answer questions as to how he got to California. About a week. It took him about a week. Said he was receiving medical care after calling his wife and then 911. He was found alone. Ramanagano, which is Firefighters Union, said he did not have a history of mental illness or substance abuse. That is also odd. No history of mental illness or substance abuse. Said he was found wearing the same ski gear, including the helmet and goggles. He was last seen in when he was reported missing. State police did not say if he was found, if he would face criminal charges. Officials have not said how he traveled to Sacramento. I thought that's really odd, you know, and then we got this, you know, news, this news press conference, which I thought was kind of odd too, from the Toronto firefighters.
Making contact and confirming his identity. Obviously, this matter is still unfolding, and New York State Police continue to conduct their investigation. We're extremely happy for Danny, his family, his friends, that he is alive and they will be reunited. We understand that there will be speculation and many questions at this time. However, please appreciate that authorities will be conducting a full and thorough investigation into what transpired. No matter what the circumstances are surrounding this situation, it does not diminish the efforts and work of all involved. The Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Police Officers, Office of Emergency Management, Office of Fire Prevention Services, Department of Homeland Security, United States Customs and Border Protection, Whiteface and Gore Mountain Ski Patrol, and the exceptional response that we have received from Toronto firefighters who volunteered to participate in the search.
Now that's odd. Conservation, you know, Homeland Security, the list goes on and on and on. Whiteface, Toronto, sure had a lot of people looking for this guy from a lot of different organizations. That's what I find very interesting. And you would think that maybe the FBI would be a little more involved than Homeland Security. I just want to know why Homeland Security is involved in this, why they're so interested in this. And plus all the other departments that, yeah, I understand he's a human being and all that, but I never see this much effort put out for anyone that comes up missing. I mean, we had this a while back. We had a police officer in a flood that went missing in a flood until eventually they found him, but they never had, you know, all these organizations out looking for him. So I find that really odd.
Does he have a history of mental illness?
I'm not aware of any history of mental illness.
Was there any signs of trauma? And do you know if he's being treated for any other conditions at this time?
I'm told that he still had the same clothing that he was skiing in, and the authorities seem to indicate that it looked like he had been in those clothes since he's been missing.
So for 5.5 days at this point.
Is he still in hospital or is he in custody?
Why would he be in custody?
I don't know the answer to that. I believe he's still...
That's another interesting portion of it. Why would the reporter ask him if he's in custody or if he's still in custody? Is that what he said? Still in custody? Let me start that over again.
don't know the answer to that. I believe we're concerned and brought him to get some medical attention.
And is he still in hospital, or is he in custody?
Or is he in custody?
I don't.
Why would he be
know
in
the
custody?
answer
He
to
was
that.
missing.
I believe he's still under medical monitoring.
Can you tell us how he made contact with his wife?
He had phoned. He had called
He
her
had
by a nickname.
phone?
She quickly recognized the voice and that it was him. Then they lost contact. He contacted her again, and they kept him on the phone.
That's
and
really
asked him
odd.
to call 911 to get him help as soon as possible.
Where was he at that point?
I know it's somewhere near Sacramento, California.
Sacramento.
Do you know, like, what?
He called her and
Concerned and brought him to
he called her, and then they lost contact, and then he called her later on again. Okay.
her again, and they kept him on the phone and asked him to call 911 to get him help as soon as possible.
Where
Well, he
at
was
that
confused.
I know it's somewhere near Sacramento, California.
point? Have a history of mental illness.
No.
I'm not aware of any history of mental illness.
Was there any signs of trauma, and do you know if he's being treated for any other conditions at this time?
I'm told that he still had the same clothing that he was skiing in, and
Same.
the authorities seem to indicate that it looked like he had been in those clothes since he's been missing.
5.5 days. He still had the same helmet, the same goggles, ski equipment. I don't think he was walking around Sacramento with, skis on. But he had the same pants and all that other stuff. Now, don't you find that a little odd? Now, I don't know, maybe just me, but I do. I find that a little strange for the circumstances that being. But anyway, I'm glad he's okay. I just find it a little odd that it was 2,900 miles away. I think it's a little strange. I want to know what he was doing in Sacramento. Maybe, could be that he was looking for excuses. Maybe he was cheating on his wife. Maybe I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's just a weird, odd situation that we don't know about. So, I don't know. It was, this is NBC5. I believe this is out of Virginia. I'm not sure. But one thing I wanted to mention about this I thought was really odd, and which people probably think is crazy. Some people don't. Depends on who you are. Some have been interested for a very long time. And it's quantum jumping and time slips. And that's why I was interested in this story, because it kind of reminds me of one of these stories that I've heard. One in particular I heard was there was these two men that broke down in the woods or outside the woods one time, and if I can remember how the story goes, they decided to go get help or go get gas and come back to their vehicle to find the nearest gas station or in town or whatever. And as they were walking, got out of their car and walked, the hood facing this way, and they walked about a mile. And as soon as they walked about a mile, they walked in a straight line. They got back to their vehicle and passed it up. Their vehicle was facing the other direction. So it was almost like they went through a time slip and noticed that they were only gone a few minutes, even though it's walking a mile or whatever. Should have taken longer than that, or maybe it was a longer walk. But it was really interesting because of the time slip, almost like they went through a porthole. So I thought it was a really interesting story, and I noticed there are a lot of cases like this that go on a lot. One in particular I want to show you. Of course, a lot of people probably know about this. This came out August 21st, 2011. It's Historic Mysteries. It's concerning Gil Perez and his spontaneous teleportation. Gil Perez was a 16th century soldier and guard. He was a member of the Filipino Guard Civil and worked as a guard at a place of the Governor General of Manila, Philippines. His life was rather typical of a soldier in that place and time. He did his duty to his government and did his job regardless of any circumstances that arose during his guard duty, even spontaneous teleportation to another country. On October 1593, Gil Perez was doing his guard duties at a governor's place in Manila. Chinese pirates had assassinated the governor, Gomez Perez Dasmariñas, the night before, but the guards still had guarded the palace and awaited the appointment of a new governor. Tired, Gil Perez decided to lean against a wall and rest for a moment. When he opened his eyes, he was in a completely unfamiliar place. Unsure how to react, he continued to do his guard duties until he was approached by someone who started asking him questions and telling him that he was somewhere that was impossible for him to be. Gil was in Mexico City's Plaza Mayor. When questioned, Gil Perez gave the story. Now, get this, he was in Mexico City. And before then, he was in Manila, Philippines. So we're talking thousands of miles away from where Mexico is. Gil Perez gave the story of his supposed teleportation and the death of his country's governor. The assassination was unknown to those in Mexico City, but Gil Perez was reportedly wearing the uniform of the palace guards in Manila. He was placed in jail because he was thought he might be a deserter and or a servant of the devil, which of course they thought that way back then. After 2 months, a ship arrived from the Philippines bringing news of the governor's death. They said that they knew Gil Perez, though they did not know he was in Mexico City. The last time they had seen him was on October 23rd at the palace. Authorities in Mexico City decided to release Gil Perez and send him home, as there are no other account of Gil materializing anywhere. It is assumed that he never spontaneously teleported again. It was lucky for him that, if the story is true, he did not wind up in a country where Spanish was not spoken, or worse, in harsh terrain like the ocean, desert, or Arctic tundra. Some sources say the story is not told until 100 years later, after it reportedly occurred. Other sources say that the authorities documented the occurrence immediately. Without details like this, it is hard to say if the story is any more suspicious than its science fiction premise already suggests. And that was from historicmysteries.com, the website, written by Shelley Barclay, October 21st, 2011. Now, I thought that was really odd, the story I just told you, because this kind of thing happens once in a while, but the media doesn't really talk about it that much. I just find it really odd. Some people may think it's crazy, but there are stories like this that have happened before. So it's going to be interesting to find out with this guy from the this white-faced skier wound up from New York to California in 5 days. Showing up with his outfit on, his ski equipment and everything, and then he and his helmet, and confused and all that stuff. But I just thought I would run that by you. I mean, you're going to get more of these. I'm going to talk about more of this stuff on my YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe, click like, share, whatever you want to do. Reverse 96 FM. Google that. You will find me there. And on Google, I'm the top of the page. Ghost Getter. GHOSTGETTER. You will find me there in Google. And you find me TuneIn. Look for Reverse 96 FM on TuneIn. Facebook.com/The Mike Getter Show. You'll find me there, or just search Ghost Getter on Twitter and everything else. But until then, until I get back to you, I appreciate everybody watching this video, and I shall see you very soon. Later.